Let's make sure we got Black Sheep on the queue. Yep. Bank one. All right. Good there. We got picture there. We got picture there. We'll start with you. All right. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start the live now.
Yeah.
So you can get a link and send it to him.
Okay.
Oh, I got the link.
Okay.
I got your number.
All right.
All right.
So we're live now?
Yeah.
Okay.
One viewer.
One view.
Let's
I wonder
go.
who's watching.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah. They have. Well, we haven't hit the music yet. So we're not really started, but
All right. It should be on your phone now. That's the
Appreciate you.
direct link.
2 viewers.
All right. We ready?
Ready?
All right. We're going to go live on the old mixer in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to the Black Sheep Recovery Warfare Podcast, where it is our mission to debunk the lies of the enemy and announce freedom to those still lost in the darkness and addiction.
Welcome back to the Black Sheep Recovery Warfare Podcast. I am flying solo again today. Palmer is busy, so my producer Danny is going to help me out with this interview. It's a very important interview. We're coming off of a huge weekend with Kelly K Ministries, and he was in the studio yesterday. I hope y'all caught that. I hope y'all caught that. But I have somebody much more important guest today. My nephew Jacob Gallagher. He's in the studio today. He's going to tell us a story of his childhood, and well, I'll let him talk about that in just a minute. Jacob is local, and what do you do? What are you doing for a living now, Jacob?
I'm just serving tables right now
Where at?
at the moment. It's a Godfrey's. It's a little Jamaican restaurant right there
Right
in
on.
Flowood. Yeah, it's a pretty sweet deal.
What else do you do?
I'm studying for my personal trainer certificate, and I've been trying to get better at doing tattoos
Right on.
here and there. Yeah, I do a
Right
couple
on.
tattoos.
So the importance of this episode is this. We've already done testimony episodes. We've already done topic episodes, and we've already got kind of a big national name in here. This will be the first restoration episode.
Okay.
And what that means is throughout my addiction, I managed to destroy and every bridge with everybody that I ever loved and cared about, and at one point in time in my life. One of those bridges was the bridge that you and I had. And we were very close since you were born. You and I were very, very close. And I'd like for you to go back and describe our relationship before you knew about my darkness and my addiction.
You well, you were my father figure for the longest. You know, you were all I really had to look up to. I don't know. I never knew what it meant to be a good man, and you seem like a pretty good man to me coming up. My old man wasn't there too much, and I don't know. You just showed me a lot of examples of being there when you were supposed to be. You know, I've seen you defend me. You know, from my mama's boyfriends or whatever. Just I don't know. You was always my father figure, and I always respected you a lot for that.
Well, your mama got me in a lot of fights.
She sure enough did. Yeah.
She did. But that was, I was just trying to pass on my morals and values on to you. That I grew up with were my father figures, my grandfather, my uncle, and my father. Now, my father, all of them, me growing up, alcoholism was the norm, and so I thought that was normal. And so through that, I did drink in front of you. I did consume alcohol in front of you and things like that. The other things that I was involved in, however, like the meth and the pills and all that stuff, I kept hidden. You didn't know about that. And it was the same really with your mother, too. It's like you didn't know your mother was in an active addiction until probably close to the end. Am I right about that?
I was probably 9 whenever I really figured it out. But, I mean, my old man told me she always had a pill problem since I was born.
She did.
And I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
She was always working, and, she took care of me and Caleb and my old man, too. So she was functioning and everything, but she went off the deep end real bad, and it was hard to miss it then.
Yeah, but see, you didn't know about it.
Never knew.
Yeah, and it was the same for me. It's like I kept that hidden from everybody also. Like everybody knew about the alcohol, but nobody knew really about the other stuff. And so your father, he was a bad alcoholic. He was, probably out there, he had a past with some, I'm not going to get into his personal life or anything like that. But praise God, it's like, but now, your father is a recovering alcoholic. He's not an alcoholic anymore, from what I understand. I haven't seen him in a long time, but from my understanding, he hasn't had a drop in a very long time. So let's moving on past that. All right, so we know that. All right, you're in your childhood, you were surrounded by addiction, pretty much. And tell us and tell my viewers, what was it like? So your mother went through some boyfriends and things like that, and you have a brother. You have a little brother named
Caleb.
And tell us a little bit about Caleb.
Caleb's he just turned 18 not too long ago. He's severely autistic. He's man, he's great. He's my baby. And he's really why I kept my head on straight for so long, because we didn't have nobody like that for the longest, and he's great. He is severely autistic, and he's staying in the adolescent center in Brookhaven, but he's doing a lot better. Yeah. He's got some good education now, and he's in a good routine and everything,
So just to give the viewers some history, Jacob and Caleb, they bounced around a lot throughout their childhood from family member to family member. And you might as well say that they kind of grew up in a foster home situation, because there'd be periods of time where they were with their mother and their father, or just their mother, or just their father, or with me, and the woman I was with at the time, and after that their aunt and the other grandmother. I mean, it was a lot of bouncing around, and that affected you, I'm sure, in a negative way. You couldn't get settled anywhere. It was a lot of moving. So moving on beyond that, let's see. I think you ended up. Where did you end up in Raleigh?
Yeah, that's where I graduated.
And this is when you're, kind of a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And you graduated.
Yeah.
That's great. You graduated. At this point in your life, and when you're about 18, I don't know if you want to talk about this or anything. Had you experimented with anything or alcohol or?
By the time I was 18,
mm-hmm.
You said alcohol
or anything. I mean
yeah. Mm-hmm. You already know.
Yeah, well, I do, but
I mean, whenever I was in high school, I went through a little, clubbing phase. I wanted to go drink on the weekends and stuff. But I mean, I've tried by the time I was 18, I might have tried coke one time.
Yeah,
I think. But
just tried it.
Yeah, by the time I was 18, yeah. I mean, since then, know.
And all right, so another thing that I know about, and so I mean, you grew up fighting a little bit, didn't you? Like you got in some scraps.
Well, I did, yeah. That's what they say.
What's your record?
You look like a savage, bro. Is what you look like, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that there was a lot of anger.
Of course,
anger and issues from having to deal with all this. You want to elaborate on that?
No, I mean, I was just impatient, man, and I was just hot-headed. And I've always loved martial arts, so it was just there were other knothead kids, and they felt the same way I did, and so we all just blew off some steam. I reckon, looking back on it now, that's what it was probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm into martial arts now. I found martial arts, and there's a whole virtue in that, so I don't really try to. I'm not trying to scrap it out in the streets like that anymore. You know,
See,
I'm also in control of my emotions a little bit better now, so I don't get upset.
That's what it's all about, right
Yeah,
there.
and I don't
Controlling
just,
their emotions.
there's no reason for me to just scrap it out with somebody now. You know?
Yeah.
I'll call my lawyer.
I got you. Oh, you got a lawyer on standby?
Yeah.
I might need to hit him up.
Yeah.
All right. So at this point, we're graduated. What happened after that? After graduation?
Right after I graduated, well, my mom had already passed by that point.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get to that point yet.
Yeah.
All right. So about this episode, okay, today is January the 8th. All right. So tomorrow is January 9th. All right. That will be the 3-year
20, yeah.
the 3-year anniversary of my little sister Amanda and Jacob's mother's passing. All right, so I don't want to get into that just yet. I want to talk about just before that. All right, there was a gap in period of time after you found out her lifestyle. Like, how did you find out about her lifestyle when you found out that she was full on in addiction, like on the heroin and everything else that she was, into?
It's honestly something I kind of always knew.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I ever found out, that it was ever thrown up in my face to where I couldn't, hide from it, was my old man told me.
Yeah.
I was like 9, and he, man, I used to play with like needle caps and stuff whenever I was real young. I didn't know what they was. They would just be laying around, and so I'd just be playing with them. And my old man one night, he told me she had a drug problem. I don't remember where exactly it come from, but he told me that she had a little drug problem. I called him a liar.
Yeah.
I called him a liar, and then, he hit me with some proof after that. So then it was undeniable. So I've always pretty much known since I was really young, yeah.
But then, but you maintained a relationship from the time you were 9 up until, probably 16 or so.
17. Yeah.
16 or 17.
It's going to be 18 before I finally, gave up. But that's my mama, you know?
Of course. That's your mother. You love her. You knew she loved you.
Yeah.
It
just hurts seeing her like that.
Yeah,
for
and
so
it's
long.
like when you're in the throes of addiction, it's like, and darkness, it's like, man, you just, you're in bondage, It's like, it's not like she was consciously just choosing drugs over you, because I went through that with my ex. It's like she always said that you're choosing drugs over me, and it's like, no, I'm not. It's like it just had a hold on me. It had this stronghold. It's like, it's really hard to describe. And even through all that, I know, and I'm sure that you know too, that up until that day, till the last breath, she loved you with all of her heart and soul, and Caleb too. And all right, so moving forward onto that, we can get into. I want to talk about me for a second. So, like, leading up to those events, I was in full blown active addiction with your mother. Okay, I'd gotten out of jail in Lamar County, and the only place I had to go was to where your mother was at. And at this point, I wasn't even on heroin, and I'd never even tried heroin. And this was probably about a year before the passing. So, so when I got there, she literally had a talk with me. She was like, "Okay, look, I'm gonna go ahead and be honest with you and be real with you. I use heroin, and you have to swear to me that you are never going to try this, because I know your personality, and I know that if you get on heroin, it's going to kill you." This is what your mother literally said to me. And what can you do? I literally, was around it for about a week, and before I broke, and I was, I had to try it. Plus, it didn't help that she told me that I would love it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you will love this, but don't do it. And I'm
Right.
like, don't tell me that. It makes me want to do it even more,
Right.
So I did, so it wasn't long after that. I'm a full-blown heroin addict, and it's not long after that I start ODing, and she starts, she's literally having to resuscitate me, all right? So in all that, it got to a point to where she got sick of resuscitating me, and you know, we had a talk. You know, she's like, I can't do this anymore. You know, I told you this was going to kill you, and you're doing it anyway. And you know, I'm literally sick of watching you die. And just so you know, at this point, like I'd never seen your mother OD or anything like that. She, you know, she just knew how to handle it better. And I didn't know how. I don't know. I was not good, you know, with it at all. I was very over the line with it. You know, I want, you know.
I mean, is it possible to be a responsible heroin addict?
Yeah,
though?
I mean, like I said, she never, you know, got made her stuff.
She
you know,
knew her
so,
limits.
Yeah, she knew her limits. I didn't care. I mean, I was just like, oh, I mean, if I got
If I got it, I'm gonna do it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, is it? You know, is it a lack of responsibility or is it a lack of, you know, regard for your own life?
It was on my end. It was probably just I didn't care. I mean, it was like a lack. It wasn't like a lack of regard of my own life. I cared if I lived or died. I just wanted to see about how high I could get.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm talking about like I mean, if I did
So irresponsible then.
very irresponsible.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, very irresponsible. So there was one incident, and it's very important that I tell this story, where I'm not going to name his name. He came to came to where we were living, and I was witnessing my first full blown OD.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and your mother and I, we knew exactly what to do. You know, I was giving him mouth to mouth. She was doing compressions, and we got him back. This dude was full on dead. Okay, I mean he was blue, not breathing.
Do I know who you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So we got him back. All right. So 3 months later, and now we can start talking about the actual, you know, before I get into that part though, prior to about a year of her passing, where were you at?
A year before she passed, I
Mhm.
was I think I just got kicked out of my mom's house,
Mm-hmm.
and I was staying with one of my friends. I was still in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like working and trying to make everything work.
Had you been hearing from her throughout that year a lot? I mean, did y'all
you
talk,
know,
communicate?
every so often. You know, she had wanted me to come and I probably shouldn't even move that far ahead yet.
Mhm.
But I mean, every once in a while we would be talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave her an ultimatum probably around that time.
Mm-hmm. What was the ultimate? I mean, what'd you say to her?
Get it together, you know, or I can't watch you be like this no more.
Yeah, it's like I love you, but I'm gonna have to love you from over here.
I really cannot watch you be like
Yeah.
this no more. It's hurting me. It's killing me, you know. And I've been trying. I'd always put forth an effort. Actually, now that I say that, it wasn't a year prior. That was probably about a month prior to her passing when I gave her that ultimatum.
Yeah. And you and I had already had a big falling out too. And so leading up to the events, so I'd witnessed this, my first OD. I'd already OD'd a few times, but I was literally witnessing my first OD. And then moving beyond that, Amanda, we had this talk, and she literally told me that she was not going to resuscitate me the next time, that she was sick of having to do it, that it was breaking her heart every time, and that I have to go to rehab. All right, so I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to go to rehab unless you at least detox off of the heroin and the fentanyl. So she agreed to it. And it took about 2 weeks. We both detoxed. And it was the most horrific experience. One of the most horrific experiences I'd ever been through in my life was watching her detox, because it was painful. Not just for her to go through it, but I was going through it too. It was worse for her, but I mean, it was awful. I mean, the sickness that came along with it, but she powered through it. She fought through it, and she literally really wanted me to go to rehab. And I wanted her to go too, but she was not going to go. It's like her excuse for it was like, you know, I've been through it. I know what I need to do. I just need a detox. And I swear to you, while you're in rehab, I'm not going to touch it. And I was like, well, look, as long as you're off the heroin and the fentanyl, and what's his name, the one that I was talking about, ODing, doesn't come around, or you're not around certain people that are using heroin, then I'll go to rehab. But you have to swear to me that you won't. So, you know, she agreed. We got through the detox process, and I waited about another week or so before I went to Region 8. And got into Region 8, and every time I talked to her, she was good. She was fine. She was good. And then I got into my third week, which was probably about December, like right around Christmas time was the last time I talked to her. And then on like my 27th day, I was about to finish my first 30 days. The administrator was walking toward me in between breaks of these classes down the hall. And when he was walking toward me, I just got that feeling, and I already knew. I already knew what he was about to tell me. And he came to me, he's like, look, you need to go to Big Jim's office, and you need to make a phone call. And I was like, I already know. I said, it's my sister, isn't it? Because at this point, I hadn't talked to her in about 8 or 9 days. And he's like, I think so, man. And in that moment, I felt something in me just break. But I didn't, it's like I went full on numb, and the first thing I wanted to do was go get high. And let me tell you something, I was thriving in rehab. I was doing really good. I was committed to it. And when that happened, it's like something in me just broke. I was completely broken. But I didn't shed a tear. I felt no pain. I mean, I didn't feel any. It was just like something in me just,
Yeah,
whatever.
I do. I really do.
And so I went to the office, and I called. I called Jeannie. She was in Florida, and she was the one that broke the news to me. And did ask her. I said, "Does Jacob know yet?" And she said, "I don't know, and I don't know where to find him. I wouldn't know how to find him." I said, "Well, I don't know if I think he's at Crystal's." And I don't remember much exactly about that, but I do remember this. I had to wait about 3 hours for another friend of mine to come pick me up. And I feel really crappy about this because I went back into that classroom knowing full well I was lying to these guys. And I told them, I was like, look, my sister just died. I got to lead the program. You guys stick to it. And, I'm not going to go out there and use. I'm good. I got to go handle my sister's death and then blah, blah, blah. And I knew I was lying when I was saying it. I walked straight out there. I got into my friend's car, and she already had a needle prepped and ready for me. It was not heroin. It was meth. And I took a shot right there in that parking lot. I left high out of my mind because I'd been sober for about 27 days. I mean, I was high. And I went straight to the last motel she had stayed in where, I knew some people. And they had just seen her like a day before. I wanted info, So I got in detective mode for a hot minute. I was, talking to everybody, and I got all these stories and stuff. And finally talked to you. And I don't remember exactly how that conversation went. I know it was very, I think there was a shock. I was in some type of shock. You got to understand the relationship. I'm just for the viewers. You got to understand the relationship that Amanda and I had. She was like literally my best friend. People thought we were twins. Everybody knew we were brother and sister, but everybody thought we were twins. She was hilarious. She was funny. She was annoying, very annoying, but lovable annoying. And, a lot of people did love and care about her. And I think I was coming to the realization that, like, she was really my only family member left that gave a crap about me. At this point, I hadn't seen my daughter in about 2.5 years. Hadn't seen you in a few years. Hadn't seen Caleb in a few years. Mom and Daddy were gone. And I'm looking around me at this motel, and I'm literally accepting the fact that I'm going to be a full-on IV heroin methamphetamine user for the rest of my life. Nobody cares anyway. But I wasn't thinking clearly. Like I said, I was in some type of shock. And through that, I didn't have a dime in my pocket. I had no money. When I was coming out of rehab, the plan was for me to go back to where Amanda was. And I knew she was still using meth, but she wasn't using heroin or fentanyl. And then the plan was that we were going to probably try to move away from Jackson and get away from everybody and all of that, start over somewhere. And I saw that crumble. I have, I had nowhere to turn. So I can't imagine what you were going through when you found out. So if you'd like to tell your side from where you were at and how you found out.
I was it was a Saturday morning, like at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. It was really early. I was with one of my friends that I was staying with. It was my roommate, and we had the night before that we was just chilling, man. We went and picked up some girls and had us some drinks and was just riding around the city and everything. And yeah, I fell asleep in the truck. We was out real late, and I woke up. We had fell asleep in some parking lot, and my phone was ringing, and like the sun was beaming through the truck. You know, that's how I knew it was early. It was really early. I had just turned 18 too. I think I had been 18 for probably less than a month, and they had called me.
Who called you?
It was I don't know, like a detective lady or something. It was a lady at first. And she wouldn't answer none of my questions. She was just asking me questions like so I'd answer the phone, and she was like, you know, is this Jacob? Is this Amanda Gallagher's son? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, we was wondering what's her birthday and like her maiden name, you know, all that stuff. And I'm just like, why? You know, why are y'all asking me this? Oh, well, she had passed away this morning, and we found her passed away. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know, what happened? You know, it's not like I didn't know what happened. But no, she didn't tell me nothing. But that moment was I don't know, it was probably the same as it was for you, because I didn't really feel no type of way about it right then in that specific moment. I wasn't surprised, really. I was just kind of
No, I wasn't shocked at all.
I mean, I was kind of just like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really have a lot of time to
process.
Yeah, because they're just like, well, what do you want us to do with her? Where do you want us to send her? I just turned 18. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd never been through anything like
No,
that.
I don't know.
I wouldn't. I mean, I was in my early 40s when that happened. I'd never had to deal with anything like that
Yeah,
before.
dude. And so I'm like, they're asking me what to do with her. I'm like, why are you asking me? And they're like, we ain't got nobody else to call. We couldn't find nobody else's number.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me that there was nobody else to call, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that it was all falling on me. So I really didn't have time to process it for the longest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't really hit me until not too long ago, because I had to do something with her, you know. Had to put her to rest one way or another.
Yeah.
And I was working in a chicken house. I was on probation, so I was working in a chicken house, making just enough to like eat and pay my probation officer. And I was still in high school, so I didn't have no kind of extra money, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to do. I ended up just hanging up and not calling them back.
Yeah.
For at least a day. I had to talk to Crystal and ask her what to do.
Yeah. Well, that hadn't happened yet. So I mean, I was in direct communication with that same detective and the coroner and stuff, but I'll get to that in a minute. So what I had to deal with after that, you know, going into like day 2 and day 3 after the fact, was like I was finding out all these details of the circumstances of what had happened. So there was the two things. There was the truth and there was lies. Okay. And it was hard to discern what was what. All right. So I'd heard like multiple different stories of what had happened the night before, during, and after. One of the stories was this. She was at, I'll say this one's name because she's dead anyway, but she was at Tiffany Wingate's house in Jackson. And the fellow I was talking about that we resuscitated was there too. They had come in, gone. This was the first story. Gone to bed, and Daniel had left. I said his name. Anyway, oops. All right, he had left, and Tiffany had gone to bed or whatever. Well, Tiffany woke up the next morning, and she found her that way. All right, that was the story that was fed to the police. Well, a lot of Amanda's friends have started contacting me and sending me screenshots of text messages that they had with Tiffany and the dude. And I'd gotten a story from Tiffany, I'd gotten a story from the police, and I'd gotten a story from the dude. And they were all three different. Okay? I knew that what the police were telling me was what they knew, which, you know, so that they didn't know. You know, they just pieced together what they came with those two stories, and it was all lies. So then I got all these text messages, screenshots of conversations between Tiffany and people, and the dude and people that were in text messages. I'm not going to get into all that, but I pieced all together exactly what had happened. And what had happened was this. They had been to the casino, and the dude had knocked out some dude with a shot of fentanyl and robbed him. Your mother didn't know about that. And I talked to this dude that they robbed. I know he's telling me the truth. So a couple days later, your mother had contacted him with his wallet. His credit cards and his license and stuff was still in there, but all the cash was gone. I don't remember what the amount was. And then 2 nights later, or that night, big argument at Tiffany's. The next morning, something had happened that night. Amanda had OD'd, and Tiffany and the dude freaked out, and they had moved her body, positioned it, laid out all kind of stuff, to make it look like it was accidental, and waited a full 12 hours before they called AMR. And then Tiffany made told him to leave, and they devised that story like he was not even there. So I was able to piece all that together through conversations, through text messages that Tiffany and him did not know that I'd had. So it was just this big mess. All right, so while all of that is going on, I was also trying to figure out what to do about your mother being in the coroner's office. So it was a couple of her friends' bright idea to come to me, because they knew I didn't have any money. They knew I had no way of coming up with any money, to do a Facebook fundraiser. And this is where things really fall apart between you and I. But you, at the time, you didn't know all of that was going on. And, now you know. And you know what I'm about to say. But so at the same time that they come to me and they say, okay, do this Facebook fundraiser, and see what you can raise out of that. And I did. I started one, and it pretty quickly raised about $1,000. Your mother knew a lot of people. And so then they came to me and said, hey, look, let's take this $1,000. We'll get us a room over on frontage over there, one of the motels. We'll get a ounce of dope, or a couple ounces of dope. We'll flip it. Then you'll have $3,000. You'll have plenty of money to have your sister cremated, and then have enough money for you to have somewhere to live, get you somewhere to stay or whatever. None of that took place. All right. These people flat out took advantage of that whole situation. And knowing that I was so focused on finding out what happened to Amanda, we'll sell all this for you. We'll do all, you don't have to do anything. That kept me high, of course. I mean, it wasn't turning it down. And by the end of it, there was no dope left, no money left, no motel room, and then I'm left with nothing. Now, you knew that this Facebook fundraiser was going on, and you knew how much it had raised. So the time came when you called me and were like, hey, me and Aunt Crystal.
You called me. I was at work.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I knew that I had to call you and tell you exactly what had happened. Do you want to?
Yeah, I was I said I told you I was working in the chicken houses.
Yeah.
I was at work in the chicken house that day, trying to make me some money, trying to pay off my probation officer and everything. And yeah, that was whenever you had called me. I wasn't even
right.
trying to think.
I
about
did.
that.
I had to call you
because whenever you started the fundraiser, look, I was tripping about it, because there was the day they told me, and I was stressed that whole day. And it wasn't too long after that you and me had got in touch, and you told me that you was going to figure it out.
Yeah. And
I didn't believe you anyway, but you had made that fundraiser, and it was putting up some money, and I was like, okay, well, this is going to be all right. It's all going to be okay. I didn't know that you was in control of it.
Yeah.
I was like, surely he doesn't have control of that money, but you did. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was taken care of, and you had called me that day, and I'll never forget that phone call, John. You sounded panicked.
I was.
he was like, man, Jacob, I can't do this. I'm tripping. I'm cracking up. You know, I can't handle this. I'm gonna need you to take over from here, this and that. And I was like, okay. I just need that money that you raised up, and I got it taken care of, and I don't got it.
I literally had to tell you, and I told you the truth. I did not lie.
You didn't tell me anything right then. You was just like, I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I was like, where is it? You know, where is it? What happened to it? Like, I didn't already know right then. And you just hung up on me. You hung up on me, and you didn't answer the phone again.
Yeah, I didn't know what. I panicked.
Yeah,
I panicked.
So I got left in that.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure it out. You didn't tell me where she was.
I
didn't know, you know, what funeral home she was at or nothing. So, you know, I had to call the owner of the chicken house right then. I had to stop working. That's what really upset me. I had to stop working. And then I was just calling funeral homes for the rest of the day until I finally found her, you know. And whenever I found her, they told me what the situation was, and they wanted $1,000 to get her cremated.
Which was exactly about what I had.
That was exactly
raised.
what I didn't have. Precisely what I did not have.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I told them the situation.
Yeah.
You know, I told them what was going on, and I told them what was going on with me and you. And they ended up doing it for $500. They was like, you just come up with $500, and we got you iron and everything. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
It was a really crappy situation. It was a really crappy thing that I did to you.
Well, it gets worse.
I know.
It gets worse. Did you know how I come up with that money?
No, I mean, I do know, but if you want to talk about that, go for
it. Nothing good, you know. I wasn't always a hard-working, you know, genuine. I didn't always make honest money.
Yeah.
You know, and to get that $500, I had to, you know, I had to make some ends meet. You know, I had to do some.
Was it an Only Dudes fan? Only Dudes page?
No, it was some robbing, some stealing.
Yeah, I mean, you broke some laws.
Yeah, and I come up with that money. I mean, I made victims. You know, I took people's things from them right out of their hands. You know, and then my high school found out. My high school found out about her, and the whole time I'm robbing people, they're taking up money at the school. So I come up with this $500, and then I come into school the next day, and they had took up $500.
Mm-hmm.
I'd robbed like 10, 12 people to come up with it, and then they had raised all this money up. That really hurt. I was already, at that point in my life, I already didn't want to be a criminal. You know, I already figured I could do something besides be a criminal, and then that happened, and I just, had to revert back to my old ways, and then
you got to do what you got to do.
Well, I mean, for no reason. Didn't nobody tell me they were taking up money at the school? They handed
you had no idea, though. You had no idea.
Man, they handed me that $500, bro, and I about crumbled. It hurt really bad. And, I mean, what am I supposed to go do? Give them their money back?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and be like, hey, sorry for robbing you.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. Yes.
Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through all that. It was a really crappy thing that I did, and I don't expect you to understand, to know the state of mind I was in. I was probably in the middle of a mental break. I take full accountability of everything I did because I chose to do those drugs, and I knew what came along with doing those drugs. So I'm held fully accountable for all of my actions from then out, and so I just kind of disappeared off of that. I ended up homeless, wandering the streets of Jackson for several months after the fact. I didn't go to your mother's memorial. Of course, I wasn't invited, which was understood. And then
man, I was looking for you, man.
How did you feel about me at that time?
I was looking for
what do you think would have happened if we would have crossed paths?
I was actively looking for you.
Yeah.
For real. I wasn't happy with you at all.
I know.
And I don't know. I was really hoping you wasn't going to show up to that because I didn't know how that would have turned out. I don't know, to be honest with you, John.
I mean, you were I'm sure the rage that came along, the anger. Furious. Yeah, well, I believe that some hands would have been thrown.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
Yeah, probably.
And you might have whooped me, but you'd have known I was there.
Right.
But no, okay.
I was really upset with you.
Yeah, I know, man.
And I didn't see you for, years and years after that.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that.
But I don't know what would have happened, to be honest with you. Nothing good.
No, I know. It would have, and it would have been deserved. Like this is what this podcast is all about, and what I want this to reach is I want this to reach people that were in the same state of mind and situation of that darkness and that bondage and that addiction that I was in, that has family and friends that they've destroyed bridges with, to know that there is a happy ending to the story, that there is restoration, that there is, that bridges can be rebuilt. And it didn't just happen for me and Jacob overnight, of course. It took a long time. It took, I think, 3.5 years, maybe even 4. I mean, it's closer to 4 years.
Even before that, it's not like I wanted to hang out,
Yeah, even before that, it's not. I mean, there was a couple years before that we didn't even see it. It was a long time. Yeah. So we're talking about a good 5-year gap here, okay? Right. Let's call it 5 years, okay? So after the fact and after I destroyed this bridge. Well, as I was saying, is like, what I want this for people to know is that there is restoration. Okay. So we're going to get to that now. All right. So we're coming up tomorrow on the 3rd year anniversary of your mother's passing. Right. And, okay. All right. So, I guess it was about a year ago when you reached out, right? About a year ago, 1.5 ago. It was wintertime. It was last year.
It was, yeah. It's probably, yeah, right at a year ago.
All right, so before you contacted me, what was your situation? Like, where were you living? Like, tell me where you were at and what was going on.
Well, I'd got out towards Hattiesburg, Laurel. I don't know if y'all know who Laurel is, but that's where I was. I don't know how I ended up there. I was selling drugs. I was selling drugs in Laurel. That's what I was doing right before I called you. And the reason I called you is because I was finna be homeless.
Yeah.
I was selling drugs and it was working for a while, but my phone got broke and I couldn't nobody get in touch with me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get in touch with nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So the money flow had stopped. And I was talking to my dad. I didn't know what to do, and I was running out of options. I couldn't pay my rent no more, and, I was finna get kicked out. I didn't have no car or no real job or nothing. And I didn't know what to do. And I was just talking to my dad, and he's the one that had told me that, you were back doing good and everything.
But you didn't know that at this point.
I mean, I had heard that. Mm-hmm. He had told me that months prior to this, way before I was in this situation. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I just didn't want nothing to do with you. I also wasn't desperate, you know, and I didn't need no help. Yeah. And then there was a time where, like, I was desperate and I needed some help. And that's really the only reason I reached out to you, because I didn't have no other option. And my old man told me that I should. He told me that he was like, you need to bite your pride, bite down on your ego. I know a lot happened with y'all, but you need to, this is your only option. It's either this or you're probably going to be homeless pretty soon.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's ultimately why I called you up.
Yeah.
And you was all the way with me coming out there and put me on your couch and let me work with you.
Absolutely.
And everything. So, I mean, it changed everything, It did more than change my situation. I mean, it changed my outlook on a lot of things, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I probably hated you and only wanted to do harm,
Yeah.
But it was just something I was holding on to for a long time. A lot of anguish and a lot of anger.
And grief.
Yeah, and I mean, it felt good to see you in the situation you were in, which is a good one. It felt good to see you not
doing dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like he said,
that,
he said earlier, he looked up at me like a father figure.
Right.
This is where he got his morals from, his family values and things like that. And then he saw all of that fall apart. He probably had me on a little bit of a pedestal for a little while, because I had a great job. I kind of had it together, and then I'm pretty sure he was looking at me like, how could you destroy all that? How could you just cause all this chaos and destruction, and how could you do this to me? I'm sure you looked at me like that, like how could you do that? How could you do that to my mother? I'm sure a lot came with that.
Well, I looked at everybody like that. There was that point where wasn't nobody real solid. Yeah. Wasn't nobody real solid coming up. But yeah, like you say, you were the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was always scared of my dad because, like you say, he was a raging alcoholic.
Yeah.
So I was more scared of him than anything. You know. And, like, if he was locked up or if he wasn't around, that was a good time to me, you know. You would come in, you would be there. I'd seen you and my old man fight over me, but because of the way he treated me. Just like stuff like that. You're right, dude.
Hey, not just him. Nick, that other
lots
Nick.
of people. You know, lots of people
I didn't put up with it,
and it just you taught me a lot, and it did hurt really bad whenever I started, because I was young whenever I started realizing everything before I ever moved in with you. And
you had to
your
grow
old
up
lady.
really fast, a long time before your
Yeah,
mother passed
yeah,
away.
yeah.
I mean, I know that.
And then whenever I did move in with you and, you know, your old lady at the time, I'd already known what was going on, and I'd already known what to look out for. So I knew you were off on it.
Yeah.
By the time I was like 11. You know
I
what I'm
didn't know
saying?
that. I didn't know you.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much it didn't take me being long. I moved in with y'all, and then you remember we went and stayed with Mama for like a summer after that, and then we come back to Pearl. By the time I come back to the Pearl, everything had changed so much. I was just like, oh, my God, man, I think my uncle's a junkie.
See, when you're out there on meth like that, and you can ask any meth head or ex-meth head this, it's like you think you're normal and you're not. I mean, you see how people act in public, like grocery stores and stuff. It's obvious that they're on some stuff.
Yeah, but this was like a 3-month interval. You know what I'm saying? Like you were offshore. I think whenever I left, you were offshore, and like you say, you had always had a drinking problem, but you weren't like, you know, off in the sauce like that. By the time I come back, bro, it was 3 months.
Yeah.
It was 3 months, and I come back, and I was really excited to be back in Pearl with y'all because it wasn't like that at first.
Yeah.
By the time I come back, you were already off on the deep end,
Yeah.
and I could see that. You know
see,
what I'm saying?
in the 30 years that I was in addiction, it's like there would be gaps where I wouldn't use hard drugs. It'd be like there might be 6 months, there might be a year, there might be a year and a half, you know, gaps where I wouldn't use any meth or pills or anything like that.
Yeah.
There would be those gaps, but it was always alcohol up to that point. You know, I mean, that was always there. So I mean, I was always an alcoholic. I was always a drug addict on some type of drug.
Yeah.
You know, but I got really bad on meth that summer. You know, I think what had happened was it was the people that I started hanging out with is what it was. It's like, throughout all of my addiction, all of those 30 years, that's how it was for me. Like, if it was around, I was doing it. You know, if it was on the menu, I was doing it. If you liked it, I loved it, and I tried to do more drugs than you did. And that 3-month gap right there, I remember it very well. There was a fellow that came around, I'm not going to name his name, that lived with us. He moved in, and he always had it. You know? So
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know you know who I'm talking about. Yep. But anyway, back to all right. So let's get back to where we were. All right. So all right, now you reached out. You called me. You probably didn't believe what your father had told you about me. You probably didn't believe that, you know, I'd straightened out my life and this, that, and other. So when that first conversation we had was really good. It was good on the phone, and we talked for a little while, and I could literally tell that you had something you wanted to ask me, but you didn't want to ask. And I think I asked you, like, well, are you all right? Is everything okay? I mean, I know, you know, and you finally did. You told me you needed some place to go. I said my door's always open to you. As long as I've got a roof, you've got a roof. And I think it was just a couple of days later, we were on our way to come pick you up. And I did, and we picked you up, and I can tell you, it was very awkward at first. It was very awkward. And, but I think by the time, it was about a 2.5 hour drive or something like that. But, you know, we did cut up and laugh on the way back. I remember it was very cold and rainy, and the windows didn't roll up in that particular vehicle. It was freezing. So we didn't do a lot of talking because we were miserable, you know. But I think, you know, when we got back to the house, you know, and, you know, I think it was a couple of days when we finally had a real talk, a face-to-face real talk. Do you remember that conversation?
We had a couple of them.
Yeah, we had a few.
Yeah,
but the conversation we had about everything that had transpired between you and I, as far as that whole situation. And I think before this conversation, you hadn't really fully forgiven. So I'd like to hear more about that. Like, how long was it after we got around each other that you started to realize that, like, this is real? Like, he really is, you know, the man that he was born to be, you know, heading toward that, you know, the man he was intended to be all along, that he truly is a sober man, and for whatever, you know, and he's on fire for God. So when did you realize, like, you know, that forgiveness was, like, complete and total forgiveness was possible for us?
I'm probably still working on that to this day.
Okay. That's fair.
I'm probably still I mean, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't take me long to, I don't know. I seen what you was doing and I seen what you was up to. You know, you're moving around and you got your businesses that you're trying to get established and everything. So it's like, okay, he's too busy to be doing this. You know, but there was always that layer of like not trusting you and being uncomfortable in your house and in your situation because I hadn't seen you in so long. And then the last time I did see you, you were, you know.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I do remember that there was a point where I think I was tripping on acid or something. You know, I didn't stay with you that long.
No, you were only there for about a week or two.
Yeah, so I was tripping on acid and man, for me, all throughout high school and growing up and everything, I always felt like it was unfair, the lack of family, you know, and the lack of a support, because I feel like all the kids my age and everybody around me, like, there was always somebody you could call on if you really needed something.
Yeah.
Not me. You know, I always had to just figure it out.
Well, you always had your nana, my mother.
Well, she passed a long time ago.
I know. So you didn't have that anymore.
Yeah.
You didn't have your other mama.
Yeah.
You know, you hadn't had me. Your mother was gone.
So I felt really
alone.
really lonely.
Yeah, I'm sure you felt very alone.
And that kind of evolved into a mentality that I don't need nobody else.
Yeah.
You know, and that I'd be all right by myself anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think it took me I had a revelation one night on some acid. I was like, yeah, dude, I think this will be okay. You know, I'm gonna have to start trusting this a little bit more, and then maybe I won't, you know, hate my life because I'm so lonely. You know, maybe I do have a family left. If anybody asked if I had family, I don't got no family really.
Yeah.
And it like I said, it was I just appreciated the fact that my family was around more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted it. I was so mad at you. I didn't see myself forgiving you, but I wanted a family so bad that, you know, it allowed me to let it go.
Yeah.
You know, you got to want love.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? You got to want love and family and good people around you, or otherwise you're just going to push it away. And you're talking about your testimony is for the, you know, for the people that are in the addiction.
It's not just that.
We're talking about, you know, you can come back from it and rebuild your bridges and everything, but mine is, you know, to the people that are on the other side
exactly.
of it.
That's why this episode is very important, because
so
you're coming from a standpoint of the person that was hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from the standpoint of the person that did the hurting.
Yeah, well, see, my thing, and it goes deeper than that. Well, Mama, you know, I guess my message would be to not give up on the junkie in your family. Yeah. Don't give up, because because like I told you, I gave her that ultimatum, and then a month later she was dead, dude. Yeah. And I always regretted that, because I tried for a long time, but I always felt like I didn't try hard enough. Yeah. You know, and I wondered if I wouldn't have never made her choose, if she would still be here. Yeah. You know, because I put so much pressure on her. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, you know, just like you know, just like I was, she was just in straight up bondage, man. She was, you know, she had chains on her. She had strongholds that she had demons that she couldn't face. I mean, it was, you know, she went through all the loss with Mama, and you know, all the abuse she took from several men over the years. You know, I mean, you know that, you know, I mean, you know, it's just, it's hard, man. And you know, she turned to drugs. And it ended up getting its grip on her, and unfortunately, you know, she didn't.
And I could never understand that, dude. I could never understand, like, see, that was my problem, dude. I didn't see her as a victim. You know, I seen myself as the victim. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It took a lot for me to understand that my mama just had a really hard life, and some things happened to her that she just wasn't strong enough to handle. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm old enough to understand that, and I can feel that, it sucks, dude. Yeah. It sucks that I didn't give her everything I had. Yeah. Because I could have gave her more. I gave up on her. I always regret that. Don't give up on the junkie in your family.
Yeah, because, you know, like a lot of people, I had a guest a few weeks ago. Her name was Jelana. She used to have this outlook toward addicts. And they would literally make fun of them, and they'd see them in public, and they'd make fun.
Me too.
Yeah, they'd make fun of them. And what she's come to realize now, you know, after some things that she's been through in her life, is that that's somebody's mother.
Yeah, and it takes something like that to realize. It takes your mama being a junkie to realize, these are people too, and they're just they have a horrible disease.
It's exactly what you.
It's a horrible disease, and it's something you got to fight against. You can't just stop doing dope one day. All y'all out there that smoke cigarettes and the vapes and everything. I mean, just imagine how hard it is to put that down.
Yeah,
this is a mind-altering substance that changes the chemical compounds in your brain, makes your body feel like you have to have it to live.
Your body actually literally wants it as bad as it wants oxygen.
Yeah, and it took me so long now that I understand that it hurts, and I'm sorry, Mama.
Well, let me tell you something. Your mama loved you. It may not have seemed that way toward the end, but she did. And she loved Caleb with all her heart and soul. And let me give a shout out to my little niece, Bailey Runnels. She's watching the live right now. I love you too, sweetheart. And, we are still family, man. I was coming down Clinton Boulevard the other day, and I saw her for the first time in front of my eyes in like probably 4 or 5 years since Nana passed away.
Yeah.
I've seen several hundreds of pictures,
Yeah, but there she is.
There she was right
over.
there. I'm talking about she had somebody pulled over at Landrum's fruit stand. I was like, there's my beast mode. There she is.
Yeah, for sure. She's hardcore, too.
Yeah, she's hardcore.
Clinton's right there by South Jackson.
I'm telling you, dude. I think, she's had a rough couple of weeks from what her mother-in-law.
That's a rough area.
Yeah. So I'm just, let me tell you something. I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of Bailey Runnels, my niece. I'm so proud of my daughter, Bailey. I'm so proud of Caleb. I'm so proud of Andrew and Brody. You guys are straight up generational curse breakers, man. Not one of y'all fell into the trap of addiction, or if you probably experimented. Some of y'all did whatever, experimented some things or whatever, but it did not get a hold of any of y'all. The alcohol, the drugs, or any of that. Every one of y'all graduated high school. You saw the darkness, growing up with. I know Big Belly did. I know you did. I know Andrew did. Y'all saw every bit of that, and y'all made the conscious decision that I am not going to end up like that.
Yeah, and I don't know how we were so lucky. I really don't.
I have a theory, but you probably don't want to hear
it.
But I mean, it's all Holy Spirit, man.
Yeah.
It's all Jesus for me.
Yeah.
What pulled me out of it, and I know we've had these conversations, and we don't have to go there. But for me, it was Jesus, and it always will be. So, anyway,
I mean, the way the cards were stacked against us, we didn't have no chance.
No, y'all didn't. I mean, y'all had the world against y'all, man. Y'all pretty much grew up without any supervision. No. I mean, you had Nana.
But Nana wasn't even. Nana was more like a support system.
Yeah,
Nana
she was a support system for sure.
She was the most genuinely sweetest person you've ever met in your life. But that also come with her being an enabler a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She you can never do no wrong, and she's seen the best in everybody. And I loved her. But she was more like for me, she wasn't like an authoritative figure.
Right.
She was more like somebody I just wanted to make proud.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying?
But you're right, man. Y'all had the cards stacked against you, and every one of y'all overcame all of that and have found success in life. I
was really close to failing.
I mean, you were very close, but you've got goals though, right?
Now,
let's hear about your goals. I want to hear about your goals.
My goals, man. I don't even know.
You got so many options. I'm so proud of you. Just because of the options that you have that you want to do.
Right.
Like, I think my favorite one with you that we've talked about is that you want to be an MMA fighter, man.
Yeah.
And I think that would. I mean, you would love that.
Yeah. Well, I love martial arts, man. It's a beautiful thing, And like you said, I grew up fighting a lot, and whenever I was whenever I was real young, I did taekwondo. And I love that, dude, and I was really good at it. And that was the first time I seen that, like, okay, maybe I could be a real coordinated athlete, And then I quit doing that. And then whenever I was 15, that's whenever I first started, selling drugs and started really getting in trouble. That's whenever Crystal put me in boxing and Pearl Boxing Club.
Yeah.
I was really good at that, dude. And that's whenever I really started understanding the virtue of martial arts.
Dude, I'd love to see you in the octagon, man.
Man, me too. Me too. I just I got some things I got to figure out first. I'm trying to get some things right. Like you say, I have goals and everything, but I would say my only goal really is to just be a good man and to just, be able to be a pillar for those around me.
It's a good goal.
Yeah, if somebody needs me, be able to do it for them. I don't really, everything in between is just, here and there. Whether I'm a personal trainer or a mixed martial artist or a tattoo artist or, I just want to make it. I want to be comfortable and I want to be able to take care of those around me.
Yeah.
And I want my family name. For the longest, the Gallaghers have been
I know.
shameless and
let me tell you something. I'm working very hard to clear the Gallagher name.
Yeah,
It's hard to do with the name out there, with a show out there like Shameless.
Yeah.
I don't, it's hard to, and it comes up, with me a lot. Like, I'll have somebody see my last name, it's like, oh, you must love that show Shameless, and I'm like, no, man, I lived it. I mean,
You
it's
have
like
no idea.
It's like you don't know. It's
It
like
hurts my feelings to
they
watch that show.
like I'm pretty sure the creator and writer is an associate of ours.
Got to be.
And all they did was change the location of the city and the first names of the people involved in the show.
No, really, if y'all have never seen Shameless, it is like spooky accurate.
It is very spooky accurate.
You don't know that their last name is Gallagher at first. So I'm watching it. I'm like, wow, this really hits close to home. I really relate to this awesome show. I love it. And then you find out their last name was Gallagher. And I felt personally attacked.
I did too.
Like, wow. That's crazy.
Man.
The junkie mama and the alcoholic daddy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. And then, but before the Shameless came out, I got so sick of people asking me if I had my Sledge-O-Matic. Do you know what that is?
A what?
You wouldn't know. It's like, that's from like the 70s, 80s generation. It's like he was a comedian, and his stick was, the
watermelon guy.
Yeah, the watermelon guy.
Yeah,
He'd come out with a watermelon. The first 3 rows would have plastic in front of them.
Yeah.
And he would smash fruit and vegetables all over them.
Yeah, so that was what Gallagher's were
Like,
first.
hey,
yeah.
John, did you bring your Sledge-O-Matic? I'm like, no, it's in the truck. Let me go get it.
And now they're like, John, did you bring your
Jesus.
did you bring your needle?
Yeah, or like, you
Not funny.
Yeah, it's like, are you getting any royalties off of Shameless?
Right.
Oh, probably should sue the pants off of Showtime.
I swear. No, that's crazy.
But Regina, yes, you were right. Nana was a very special lady, man. She was truly an angel on earth. She could find the good in anybody, and
whenever I was at my worst,
I sure do miss her.
Whenever I really was at my worst, and whenever I didn't have a regard for the future for myself, she was the main. I got to do good for Nana. I cannot disappoint my Nana.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And even now, that's probably for the longest. That's why I kept my head on straight.
Yeah.
Nana's watching me. She would be so disappointed. I think about that a lot. Nana would be so disappointed right now.
Yeah. That's that conviction you feel when you're about to do something bad. It's like,
Well, I mean, it feels good to look around and I'm taking care of myself and I'm eating good. And
she would be so proud of you, bro.
Yeah, it feels
I'm
good.
telling you,
and
she's so proud of you.
I know that.
I could hear her right now. He's got a car and a job. He graduated high school. She'd be bragging on you on that, what was it, Bullseye Radio?
Yeah.
She'd be bragging on you.
Yeah.
And Bailey, too. All of y'all. You know, all of y'all. Brody,
I'm proud
too.
of every one of us, man.
I am, too. I'm super proud of
Andrew and Bailey are another great reason why I didn't, go off the deep end.
Yeah, because, like, I imagine that after,
well, seeing us all go through that, and then Andrew, he's in the military.
Had to step up.
Yeah, Andrew's in the military, and he has a beautiful family.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number one. Bailey, she graduates. She's a cop. She has a beautiful family. You know what I'm saying? I'm the next one up. You know what I'm saying? So I can't blow it. I'm not going to be the one to blow it. You know what I'm saying?
You have no idea. Let me tell you something. Like, when the day I got arrested, and, it was the day I was going to commit suicide. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
And, I told you about the full-on deliverance I went through in the cell and then going through prison. Like, when I was going through prison, something that I prayed for every day was to have my family restored to me. And I didn't know how that was possible. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even think it was possible. I just figured, if anything, they would prosper. They would be fine without me. And, I would, the Lord would provide another family for me and I'd get another shot at it. So when I got out of prison, it was a big goal of mine to just find a way to reconnect with y'all, man, because I knew I'd really just broken those bonds in between all of us. And, the Lord spoke it to me. It's like, you just keep your eyes on me and stick with me, keep doing what be obedient to me, and I'll add all that unto you. And sure enough, man, it took a few years, but I did exactly what he wanted. I was obedient to him. And one by one, y'all started coming back into my life. And it's not like I see y'all every day or anything, or we don't even talk every day or anything, but y'all literally have accepted me back, into the family, really.
Well, all of us were kind of on our own way.
Yeah.
Me and Andrew and Bailey, we all hadn't really talked in a couple years, as just us. So I mean, you coming out of the dirt kind of brought us all together.
Yeah.
In a way.
And look, let me tell you something, man. It is my hope and my dream, and it's something that I pray for all the time. Is that all of us are going to be sitting at a table, eating dinner together. One table. It'll be me, you, Bailey, Big Bailey, Little Bailey, Caleb, Andrew, Brody, and as a family, and having dinner. And then to me that'll be just a miracle in itself. You know? And I know it's going to happen. I just know it. It might not be in the next 6 months, might not be in the next 5 years, but eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I just know it. And I do talk to y'all. I mean, we do talk. We communicate. We actually have a little Facebook chat. Where I was trying to get together.
Well, we're also busy now.
Yeah, everybody's so busy.
It's
It's not because y'all don't want to. It's
not
just
for
like
sure, but it's like I mean, think about 10 years ago whenever we weren't talking.
Look, let me tell you how excited I get when you call me. When my phone rings and your name pops up, it's just like it's like a little miracle in itself every time. It's like I never thought that he would be calling me.
Yeah.
But and those are all separate stories in themselves, and it's like every time it happens, it's just like, wow, man, this is so cool. So restoration is possible for you. I mean, it's like going into the actual topic of the show is like what it's about is that no matter how far out there you are, no matter what you've done, sure you've hurt people, sure you've done whatever you've done, but restoration is possible.
Yeah. And you let me pick the name for the podcast.
I did. What's the name of the podcast?
The virtue of forgiveness. There's a reason I wanted to name it that.
Let's hear it.
I found a virtue in forgiveness. Being able to not hold on to, because like I said, I held Mama dying against her for the longest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I had my very own victim mentality.
Yeah.
And I didn't forgive her.
Yeah.
I probably hated her. To be honest,
You probably had a lot of anger toward her.
I mean, bro. Every time I thought about her, I would get upset.
Yeah.
I would get mad whenever I thought about her. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't believe that she had the audacity to die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
got you.
Like I was so mad at her. And the idea of forgiving her or forgiving you or forgiving anybody else in my past was just like it made me feel weak.
Yeah.
I can't forgive you. You know, and forgiving you. You were the first person I ever forgave ever in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
After all this time, it feels I'm a new person.
Yeah.
I'm a new person. I don't my emotions are in check.
Yeah.
I don't I mean, even beyond all that though, I found solace with my mother and her situation.
Mm-hmm.
The virtue of forgiveness is you forgive somebody and you let go of a lot of anguish and animosity and grief and hate, and I mean you let go of all that and you feel like you're a whole new person. You feel lighter and the world around you feels better.
Yeah.
Ever since I did grieve her not too long ago. I had to go out in the woods and sit by a river and meditate for a little while, but it finally hit me that I missed her.
Yeah.
And that I love her, you know, and that I do really forgive her. And that was me being able to forgive her and feel that way is through you, And now I know I love her.
Yeah.
I love her and I miss her and I just want to make her proud,
I don't need to tell you this, but that all comes from Jesus, buddy.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. But anyway, so another thing I wanted to ask is like, where did you get that title from? The virtue of forgiveness. Did you?
I was watching Birdman.
A movie?
Birdman. It's called Birdman: The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
So you just flopped it out. For
Pretty much, yeah.
Speaking of audacity,
and I was like, well, hey, that is a virtue right there.
You were talking about, she had the audacity. Let me tell you what really, the one thing that, something that hurt me more than anything was going back to the events of her passing was that dude that was with her had the audacity to let her die after your mother and I saved his life 3 months before that.
Yeah.
And just left her. Man, that dude had some the audacity of that. How dare you?
Well, hey, that's all grief and animosity right there.
That took a long time for me to forgive that and let go of. A long time.
Yeah.
And I did. I did have to forgive him. and I did have to let that go. And like you said, like there is a freedom in forgiveness.
That for real. Whenever you hold on to something like
Yeah.
that, I mean, like you asked me how long did it take to, after you took that money, how long did it take to forgive you? Like, man, the whole time after that, I was just angry.
Yeah.
Anytime I thought about you, it was like, I hope I see this dude.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's not a good way to feel.
Right.
And you can only feel that way for so long before you start becoming bitter
Yeah.
and depressed and hating your life and becoming one of those miserable people that nobody wants to be around. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
You're letting that incident live rent free in your mind,
Right.
and,
right.
and it just eats you up,
Yeah, no, for real. And,
All right, look, let's just to wrap this up, Jacob. Man, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for allowing me back into your life. It really meant the world to me.
Well, I appreciate you for getting it all together.
Yeah.
If you didn't, I don't know where I would be.
Yeah. Lord knows, man.
Yeah, and that's to all the other junkies out there. You feel like you can't do nothing for nobody. I felt like you couldn't do nothing for me for the longest, And as a man, it feels really good to be able to. I'm sure it felt really good whenever I called you and you was able to help me out. I'm sure that was a great feeling.
Well, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
It was truly a blessing from the Lord, and I give all the glory to God on that, bro.
Yeah.
I truly do. And yeah, so I will. I guess we'll wrap this up. Dan, any final thoughts, Jacob?
Final thoughts? Not necessarily. No, I think that. Yeah, I'm straight.
There is restoration for the broken. There is restoration for you that is in darkness. If you've got some, if you are holding on to any unforgiveness or any animosity towards somebody, if there's somebody out there that's lost in addiction that you are having some ill feelings toward,
Just a victim.
Yeah, just there's freedom in forgiveness, and have that conversation with them. Try to. It might pull them out of the darkness and addiction. That's what it's all about. Is going these Black Sheep podcasts are to bring awareness to those that are not just in the darkness, but the ones that are affected by the ones that are in the darkness and are in that bondage.
Yeah.
You might think, okay, so I mean, you're a drug addict and you think you're just hurting yourself, but you're not. You're hurting all the people that love and care about you.
Right.
But it's time to put that needle down. It's time to put that pipe down. It's time to go home. It's time to go home to your family. It's time to return to God. It's time to it's time to bring that family back together.
Yeah, and for those that are like me, I guess I would just have to say if you got somebody that you looked up to for a long time and they're just not doing right, it's gonna hurt, and you can't save everybody, but don't give up that hope.
Do not give up that hope.
Don't give up that hope.
That person
do
that you see.
Do what you can and be the best person you can and do everything you can for that person.
That's right.
But live and let live and make sure you're always ready to accept. Because you can't save everybody.
That's right. Amen. Anything, Danny?
Man, this is real, bro. This is real. I mean, some hard stuff was discussed today. Some hard things, some hard feelings were laid out on the table, man. This is real. This is what this is all about.
This is what the Black Sheep Recovery Warfare
That's what it's all about, bro. This is good stuff today, man. It's good stuff.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Welcome to the Awakened Collective.
That's a wrong one right there. There we go.